This has been a very interesting first fall for me chasing the striped bass out on the Chesapeake Bay. And what I've done here is I have some illustrations that sort of summarize a couple different patterns, but really overall just show the trend. I'll go through these one at a time. Back in early to mid-October, I was out on the Susquehanna Flats, and we had a really high water event. We had a lot of heavy rain up on the Susquehanna, and I got out there and it was a race against time. We've had a good bit of rain here recently. The river is no doubt going to be spewing out a bunch of mud here shortly. Actually, it's already pretty turbid, but I think this muddiness that I'm seeing here in the marina is wind generated. We got a strong wind out of the northeast coming across the flats, muddying things up. I'm hoping, because we still got a good bit of grass out there, that there's some, still some nice clean water areas out there filtered by all the subaquatic vegetation. And here's what happened. I had, I paddled the kayak out over the main channel and there was just mud streaming down. But as soon as I got into the grass beds, it was like I was in a delay. The water here wasn't quite as turbid right away, and that's ultimately out here, behind on the down current end of one of the grass beds is, where I got into some striped bass. Got a lot of catfish that day, but the grass beds sort of acted as a filter and slowed down this big slug of mud coming down. Oh, it's been slow. This one, I finally got someone to bite. It's clear out here where I'm at. That might be a catfish. I don't know what it is. It's strong though. No, that's a big striper. I had nothing for hours, and this one finally took the jig out here in the flat, and a whole lot of nothing. Oh yeah, he's a good one. He's a good one. How big are you? Alright. Yeah, it's been a while since I caught something. Last weekend was slow because it heated up. Today's been slow. This is the first one. Muddy, muddy, muddy right after the rain, and still muddy out here, but it took longer. So I had a window. That was in about 7 feet of water out here. Next one was out on the bay proper, and just found a submerged rock pile, and I didn't get anything big. In fact, I don't think any of the fish I pulled off there were keepers. There was a whole lot of 17, 17 and a half, 17 and 3/4 currents coming along here, and I just, I would drift over it, look at it with my depth finder, and I could see these fish. And if I got a jig down on them quick, I capitalized. Certainly not a great day of fishing by any means, but it's starting to come together for me. Getting a little bit deeper. Here we're in 23 feet. The following weekend I went up in one of the many tidal rivers on Maryland's eastern shore, and the tide was going out. As it came through here, you have this larger bay, and it really constricted between these two land masses. And even more than that, you had an area where there was an extension from this point where 10 feet of 8 and 10 feet of water stuck way out into a lot of deeper water. And that really constricted and made a lot of nice flow here. Got a nice one here right above it on the upslope as it was coming up and coming up over that and speeding up. Good start to the day. We're on that first point in the milk run. I got them all over below me. See you guys. The next weekend was that really incredible day I had out on Sean Kimbrough's boat. It was foggy, and you know, there were just fish everywhere. It was a matter of chasing the birds and you know, going to a couple key structures like some ledges near the mouths of the tidal rivers. But we were also out in the open bay, and we would, you know, with it being really foggy, we would stop the boat and listen. We were listening for these birds, and frequently we'd see these schools of you know, of peanut bunker, and you know, we'd see them on the depth finder at different depths, and there was activity. I mean, there were fish. Certainly there were fish on the bottom, but they were also up in the water column, really just going nuts. And that was a really fun day. And then just here yesterday, I was out underneath the Bay Bridge, under some riprap, or fishing some riprap, and it was probably the deepest one I've got this fall. I was near 50 and 60 foot deep water, and caught one. I'll show you here in a second. That was it was in about 33 feet of water. First fish, I actually switched back to my regular ounce jig head and soft plastic and got a hit right away. I'm thinking this is the better lure, at least for now. Has a slower fall, and yep, that's a nice one. I'm learning that what you need to do is to have the bait hit the bottom such that, you know, here's a nice one, probably 22, 23. You want to have the bait hit the bottom such that, you know, you can just barely feel it hit. If that's an ounce that you can do that with, great. If it's 3/4, great. If you need to go up to 1.5 ounces because the current or wind is high, that's fine too. Let's go ahead and let this guy go. So have you figured out the habitat transition yet? If not, the next clip should make everything crystal clear. The water temperature back in this cove isn't even 40 degrees. We've had a cold snap here recently. It's really brought the shallow water temperature down. And I know that sent a lot of these fish that might have been shallow a couple days ago racing for deeper water. That's where I'm headed. There'll be 50 and 60 foot deeper water around where I'm headed. I probably won't fish that deep. I'm going to be fishing rock structures, rock piles near the channel out here in the middle of the Chesapeake. They moved to those deeper areas because, especially around the Bay Bridge, because they are warmer, but also because they're more oxygenated in the deeper sections. It affords them both warmth and oxygen. And I bet a good bit of food. I haven't gotten too much further out beyond the mouth of that cove that I launched in. Already the water temperature is 43.3 and climbing. So that'll be the surface temperature. And I know down deeper, especially once I get out to the shipping channel, you know, we've been in the upper 40s, low 50s last couple weeks. It's probably at least 50 degrees down deep, so they should be active. So deep water is where they go in winter. How deep will they go? I'm really not sure. There's probably not a simple answer, but I'm gonna try and find out starting next Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm sure that I'll have some good help along the way. Thanks for your subscription to the Tightline Junkies Journal.